This is a demonstration of the effective firearm stopping power calculator for hunters, which provides up to 6 indicators of bullet effectiveness. As shown on the page, the app is currently available on the Android platform, with the Android version being available from both Google and Amazon. Windows and iPhone versions will be available soon. The earlier demonstrations on using the stopping power calculator here on effectivefirearms.com/app.html illustrated how to use the calculator originally to obtain 6 of the indicators provided, with a second demonstration to illustrate the added option for optimum game weight. There are 2 major additions to the effective firearm stopping power calculator for hunters, distinguishing it from the earlier sister version. First, the For Hunters version includes calculations for Chuck Hawk's killing power score. Also, the For Hunters version includes an estimate for free recoil energy. And note that the caliber selection in the For Hunters version is limited to rifle calibers, dropping the handguns and selected shotgun calibers that were in the earlier sister version. Last, the calibers for General Hatcher's relative stopping power, which is generally associated with personal defense rather than hunting per se, has been dropped in the For Hunters version. So, to get started, the initial display allows for up to 4 parameters, the first 2 being the bullet weight, bullet velocity in feet per second, and the bullet weight in grains. Let's enter a powerhouse load of 2,660 feet per second and a weight of 250 grains. Tapping calculate. This displays momentum of 95 foot-pounds per second. And for those who prefer to emphasize velocity, a muzzle or kinetic energy of 3,929 foot-pounds. Also displayed is the Matunas Optimum Game Weight, which is the maximum weight that a particular bullet weight and velocity should be effective for. In this case, then, the optimum game weight for this load is 1,764 pounds. The first thing to note is that unlike the other formulas, such as the Taylor knockout factor, Thorniley stopping power, and Hawk's killing power score, which all provide relative values, requiring familiarity with the scale for each one, optimum game weight provides an absolute value. Again, 1,764 pounds in this case. When you read through the listed references, you'll see concerns and reservations expressed about the various formulas, which we won't revisit here. Except, I should note that while Matunas developed the optimum game weight for hunting, and it covers all game weights, it seems skewed toward the higher velocity of rifles and is not necessarily accurate for the lower velocity of handguns. And that point is illustrated in a tutorial for our earlier sister app. Now let's select an appropriate caliber for this load. So scrolling down, we'll take a .338 Winchester Magnum. But the velocity is not really appropriate as it's the muzzle velocity, and you're highly unlikely to hunt large game at point blank range. At 100 yards, the velocity would drop to 2470 feet per second. Based on tables in Chuck Hawk's Games and Shooting website. So with 3 inputs, our velocity, weight, and caliber, we can calculate all 6 stopping power indicators: momentum, kinetic energy, optimum game weight, knockout factor, stopping power, killing power score. Again, Taylor, Thorniley, and Hawks all provide relative values. You have to be familiar with their scale for the numbers to make any sense. Whereas optimum game weight is an absolute value. It's the maximum game weight that a particular bullet weight and velocity should be effective for. As shown, the optimum game weight dropped over 300 pounds due to the reduced velocity at 100 yards. Also note that the energy dropped much more than the momentum, as velocity plays a smaller role in the momentum calculation. And sorry, I just realized I need to change the display text to say kinetic energy rather than muzzle energy, as most realistic calculations won't use the muzzle energy. I'll make that change in the next update. So now let's tap clear and look at a second example related to optimum game weight, illustrating a unique aspect of optimum game weight in comparison to the other measurements. Let's start with a muzzle velocity of 3,680 feet per second and a bullet weight of 55 grains. Tapping calculate. This gives an optimum weight of 226 pounds. But this load is really for a frangible varmint bullet for smaller game. Because varmint bullets have lower penetration, Matunas used a different constant factor to calculate the optimum game weight. So if I check the V box here to indicate this is a varmint load, and that the alternate constant factor should be used, and please note that when the iPhone version comes out, this will be a button. For technical reasons, it'll be a button instead of a checkbox. Now tapping calculate, you can see the optimum game weight drops down to 75 pounds. Select the caliber, say 22-250 Remington. Tap calculate again. And we get the Taylor, Thorniley, and Hawks values. When using the calculator, be sure to select V for varmint when appropriate when using a varmint load. Otherwise, your weight will not be accurate. Again, illustrated, if I untap the V, press calculate, the Matunas balloons up to 226 pounds, which would not be correct for a frangible load with low penetration capability. But again, this is not completely accurate, as game is not shot at muzzle velocity. So changing the velocity, something more appropriate, say 65 feet per second rather, which would be the appropriate velocity for 100 yards. Rechecking our V box. And tapping calculate. And we have the more realistic value. So in this case then, the load will be appropriate for 53 pounds. Because assuming you're shooting the game at longer, and maybe 53 pounds may even be optimistic, because if say it's 200 yards, that velocity would be smaller. And so again, if you go to guns and shooting site with Chuck Hawks, he has tables with various velocities for various calibers. Clearing this, and also note that the other values also dropped when I dropped the velocity. Clearing this, and looking at another feature of our app, let's enter a muzzle velocity of 2,700 feet per second. And a bullet weight of 150 grains. Let's also enter a powder weight of 50 grains. So this would be for those that hand load. And a gun weight of 9 pounds. Tapping calculate. And looking at the bottom, we see a recoil energy of 14.5 foot-pounds, an estimated free recoil energy of 14.5 foot-pounds. This example, in terms of velocity and weight, is taken from the 47th edition of Lyman's Reloading Handbook, page 398, I think it was. I emphasize estimated because the calculation requires a velocity for the propellant gases which is not practically measurable. Lyman used a constant of 4,700 feet per second. Other calculations I came across used similar values such as 5,000. One article on Chuck Houck's site just had the letters PC with no value given. In researching, I came across a calculation from the Sporting Arms and Ammunition Manufacturers Institute, which had different values for different firearms types. And so basically the constants used really were coefficients where you multiply them against the velocity of the bullet. And so you different constants, different coefficients for different firearm types. The highest one was for rifles, since rifles would have more pressure than revolvers. And so I used the 1 point, that made sense to me. So I used the 1.75 for rifles. And also given the late publication date, revision date, I assume maybe other things were discovered by this point in time, so this may be more accurate than the older values. So let's change the gun weight to 9.5. And tapping calculate illustrates that a heavier gun reduces the recoil energy, reduces the felt recoil. For my initial simplicity in developing the app, I set the gun weight to allow a fractional value. If using pounds and ounces would be preferable, please just send me a message, contact email at the bottom, info@effectivefirearms.com. Send me an email there, letting me know that you think pounds and ounces would work a lot better for this, and I'll change it. Again, the effective firearm stopping power calculator for hunters. The advantage or the value of it is having these values available at your fingertips with just a few inputs. No extensive tapping on a calculator, no internet connections required, no equipment or devices needed beyond your cell phone. I am not aware of any one site that provides all 7 values, 7 including the recoil factor. And with the app, these values can be easily obtained while standing in the store, evaluating ammunition options on the shelf or in the middle of nowhere without an internet connection or a phone signal. Since the phone is on your app, it's still available. Since the app is on your phone, it's still available. To conclude, the Android version is available from both Google Play and Amazon, and the Windows and phone versions